Hi guys, welcome back. It's LSP. It's currently the 21st of January 2020. I want to discuss today a few things about me, who I am, and why I'm qualified to talk about trading. It's something that I've addressed over the years a few times, but I want to go into it in a little bit more detail because at the end of the day, you guys are watching these videos, and I know a lot of you know who I am. You watch or have watched some of my previous YouTube videos. You've seen some of the content that I've posted online in various different places. Some of you have worked with me on your trading, so and can verify the things that I say. But there's obviously going to be other people that are coming across these videos, whether it's through a search engine or whether it's through searching for something on YouTube, and so on, who don't know who I am and have no idea, what I'm trying to achieve, or whether or not I'm, real, or whether I can validate what I'm saying, and so on. Now, I've mentioned many times that I've, traded for over 23, 24 years, almost 24 years. Okay, started when I was very young, and so on. Okay, this is no mystery. I've said it many times. Okay, so don't need to go into that. But as far as what qualifies me to discuss trading, and mainly to help traders achieve their trading goals, that's the part that I want to focus on the most. And the reason why I am so good at being able to get through to people when it comes to their trading is because, as I've said many times, I focus on the trader. I don't focus on the methodology or the trading system or anything like that, because ultimately, being able to get through to people is what really matters. I'm sure we've all experienced that one teacher in school, okay, who really got through to us. I know for me, I know the teacher it was. I had a pretty poor schooling experience. Didn't really care much for school. I guess like a lot of people back then. Things are different now. Things have progressed a little bit more. But the reality is, for me personally, I didn't give a shit about school. And that one teacher, he really got through to me. He got through to me because he was able to look past all the crap, and talk to me like a human being, talk to me like, he respected me, and he helped me. He helped me to learn and to get through, he got through to me and helped me to learn, and I became a better person because of that teacher. And it's interesting to note, as well, as a side note, that that particular teacher is talked about where I came from, up north. He's spoken about more than any other teacher in the entire time that I was, up there. Everybody knows him. Everybody knows him. Everybody respects him, and everybody says the same thing about him. So I'm not saying that I am like that, but or like I am, as good as this particular teacher or any other teachers out there, but I am good at being able to get to the heart of the problem. Okay, I'm very good at breaking things down to a point, right, where I can explain to people in a way where they really understand. For them, everybody learns differently. I mean, this is what really it aggravates me and frustrates me, right? That there's so much information online, about the way the mind works, neuroplasticity, the ability to be able to take in information, the memory, the way the memory works, the way recall works, how we as humankind are advancing, in the learning process, and how, sorry, 1 second, guys. I'm getting a little bit of movement on Euro. I've got a trade open on Euro. Excuse me 1 second. We've got the refinancing rate coming out on Euro today, so I'm just going to keep an eye on that, make sure that that's visible. And the advances in, in learning, the advances in, and I'm talking about the actual frustration here. There's so much information out there, so many advances in that field, and we hear, if anybody's studied neuro-linguistic programming, you'll know there are different ways in which people take in information, whether it's auditory, whether it's from a kinesthetic point of view, whether it's visual, and so on and so on and so on. And yet, educators, trainers, teachers continue to do the same boring, mundane, way of teaching, any subject matter, and get absolutely no results. Yeah. And then it's down to the student whether or not they, push and persist and keep going, and break through those, barriers that are set up by the teachers themselves. So this angers me, it pisses me off, because what much more, how much more information do you need? How much more information do we need to read? How much more study do we need to do on the way that the mind takes in information for us to be able, to take a step back and say, wait a second, there's a better way, there's an easier way of doing this. Yeah. Now, I am that guy who will break shit down to the point where I'm like, right, if I'm teaching somebody how to trade, or if that trader says to me, look, I have a problem with this particular issue. Okay, it's something that crops up a lot. It's something that's always on my mind. It's something that constantly stops me, or prevents me from moving forward with my trading, and I end up in trades that I'm not supposed to be in. Okay, great, fine. How do we work on that? And then we break it down. We look at and we start to look at unorthodox ways of getting through to that trader. I can't just say, don't worry, let me just go and check my template. I'm sure there's one for your specific problem, and I'll give you a set of things to do. And here's your penance, and that's what you need to do. And then once you've done that, everything will be okay. That's not the way it works, man. Human beings are dynamic. We're constantly shifting and changing the way we think, the way we do things all the time. It's a continual thing, over and over and over and over again on a daily basis. There's so much information coming in. We need to be able to find creative ways of getting information into our minds, and being able to consistently apply those ideas in a way where it's going to stick. Yeah. It's not just about doing, the same thing over and over and over again and waiting for it to stick, or waiting for the habit to change. You have to put some time and effort into it, but you have to be creative about the process. I use myself as a guinea pig. If there's something that I want to change, for example, sugar. Sugar's a very good example, because I actually went off sugar for about 6 weeks, and I became very ill. Let me just turn this down. I became very ill. But I went to the extreme. What I should have done is I should have found a more creative way, to get myself off of sugar, instead of trying to just go cold turkey. It's ridiculous. I mean, like I said, I made myself very sick. I was vomiting. It was insane. And it's shocking that sugar does that to you. So I needed to take a step back. If I'd have took a step back and said, right, all right, how do I need to approach this? If I slowly wean myself off of sugar in a way that it's not going to affect me. For example, I make a cup of tea, I put two spoonfuls of sugar in there. So the next time I put 1.5, the next time I put 1.25, the next time I put 1, the next time I put 3/4, half, quarter, 0. Eventually, you're going to get used to the taste of tea being, without sugar. So, very basic example, but just, I want to sort of emphasize the creative process of doing things differently. And it's the same with trading. When you have a trading problem, okay, or something that's challenging you in your trading, you need to take a step back, look at the problem, and try and figure out a creative way for you to not alleviate the problem, but to control the problem until you become comfortable with that problem being there. This is another thing that traders get wrong, and it's not just traders, it's just in general. Let's say you have an issue with, gambler's mentality is a very good one to use. I've used this one before, but it's a good one to use. Okay, and you get into a trade, you see prices going, in your favor, you're up a little bit on the trade, and you want to immediately take the trade off. Okay, now that type of problem is very difficult to alleviate. Yeah, you can't stop doing that. You can't just say, right, I'm not going to do it anymore. It's very, very hard to do. But what you can do is get a little bit creative, and you say, right, when I open a trade, I'm going to open a trade with half the position. Then I'm going to walk away from the computer, and I'm always going to have a hard stop, and I'm going to have a target, and I'm going to let the trade do its thing. Yeah, I'm going to allow the trade to unfold to the point of at least an hour. Okay, if I'm normally, because obviously when you're in profit, it might take a few minutes, or it might take half an hour, it might take an hour, it might take 2 hours. But when you see the profit and then you react to that, that's the issue. So you say to yourself, I'm going to keep everything generic. I'm going to open the trade with half the position, because the idea is to learn. I'm trying to learn to stop doing this. Okay, and allow the trade to unfold so I can see and measure the results to see whether or not leaving trades open is actually going to be beneficial to me, or whether taking that money off as soon as I get it is, going to be a profitable system. All right. So you get creative. Open the trade with half the position. Put a 1 hour time limit on it. Put a hard stop in, put a target in, leave the trade alone, turn the computer off, and actually go and do something else. Leave the house if you have to. Yeah, do the extreme, get out of the house, leave it alone. If you're the sort of person that's constantly going to be checking on their smartphone, leave your phone at home. Yeah, come back in an hour. Okay, and I know these are very basic examples, guys. I am aware that there's going to be people that are at work, there's going to be people that need their phone with them at all times and so on, but you have to put the effort in, man. You've got to put a little bit of time and a little bit of effort in. You've got to do something to make sure that you are learning to control these habits, control these problems that are constantly, affecting your trading. So when that time comes, okay, do it. Leave the phone at home, go out, go for a walk, do whatever you need to do. Come back in an hour and then make the assessment. Now, you may come back and the trade is down, so you have to leave it for a little bit longer. Yeah, and maybe there's some other things that you need to deal with there. Do I get out of the trade? Do I not? Do I leave it? And so on. I mean, obviously, cognitive biases, they're always firing back and forth. There's a lot of them. It's not just one and that's it. But you may come back and the trade is, in profit more than you would have been had you have been here and taken the trade off because you saw a small amount of profit. So again, we have to be creative. We've got to think outside of the box. We've got to try to manage these issues, psychological biases, little challenges in a way where we are comfortable with them being there, comfortable with the uncomfortable, as they say. Yeah, to become comfortable with the uncomfortable, which has been said many times. That's not my saying. It's been said many, many times. Sorry, 1 second, guys. Let me just drop down to the 15-minute. Nope. Not 15, 1:15-minute. Sorry, guys, I'm just having a quick look at this trade, which so far is doing okay. I'm only up about 4 pips, but I think we're going to get a nice little drop on euro. This is not a main account trade, by the way. This is just a study trade that I want to do for the Patreon site. I'm going to be posting this when the opportunity arises, so I will be doing that later. About 45 minutes, we've got the refinancing rate for the euro, so we'll see whether or not that affects this. I'm not expecting much change. I think it's just going to remain at 0, but either way, we'll see. So again, going back to what I was saying, guys, you have to be creative. You've got to put the time in, and again, to become comfortable with the uncomfortable. Okay, we're not trying to, have, say, 5 psychological biases that are affecting our trading and eliminate them. The more you try to force a psychological bias, okay, out of your system, okay, or out of your psyche, the harder it's going to fight back. Yeah, it's not, you can't do that. You have to manage them. Okay, you have to manage them until you become comfortable with them being there and being able to control the effect that they have on you. That's the most important part. All right. So with all of that said, guys, as always, I hope the video finds everybody well. I'm trying to keep the video short, brief, and concise, and try and cram as much content in as I can. And I will catch up with you guys at some point, I guess, in the next few days. I wish everybody well. I hope everyone's having a great day. I hope everybody has a great week. And I hope everybody's at least 1 inch closer to, whatever goal it is that they've got for this year, or goals that they've got for this year. Let's just keep pounding away. All right, guys, so take care, and I'll speak to you soon.